Located in the heart of Wisconsin Dells on beautiful Lake Delton, the Delton Oaks Resort offers a classic Wisconsin family vacation. It's an on-the-lake experience with available cabins, villas, and studio condos, all with home-style comforts and amenities. And extra space for family gatherings, reunions, and small groups. With a private sandy beach and dock, you can splash around, swim, and boat to your heart's content. There's a pontoon boat, kayak rentals, fire pit and barbecue grills are available for use for registered guests. Book your stay and enjoy all the ultimate Dells experience, with bonus passes to Noah's Ark Water Park. From s'mores to oars, Delton Oaks Resort has something for everyone. Visit DeltonOaksResort.com. That's DeltonOaksResort.com.
And welcome to the show once again. This is The Truth About Chicago Sports with your host, Marcus Mack, joined by Blake Cowell. And we are in Studio 14 WRN.
It's always exciting to hear Elgin business owners like Tanner
Elgin,
Melvin.
Illinois. Let's go. And welcome to the show once again. This is this one. And welcome to the show. This is The Truth About Chicago Sports with your host, Marcus Mack, joined by Blake Cowell here in Studio 14, Elgin, Illinois. Let's go. Blake, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Good morning, Marcus. It's another great sunny morning, and we have a lot of action to get to. We have a lot of action to talk about. It's been a fun weekend so far and a fun week in sports.
Oh, my
I'm ready to get to it.
Goodness. Let's go indeed. We saw fireworks kickoff last night at the MLB World Series. Dodgers versus Yankees, and wow, what a game, Blake. What a way for it to finish, with Freddie Freeman with the walk-off homer, giving the Dodgers the win over the Yankees. Game won 6-3, a thrilling 10-inning game. What a way to get it kicked off, huh?
It doesn't get better than that. We talked about it last week on the show. We wanted the stars to align to get every superstar we could, and it just didn't disappoint. Back and forth, guys coming up with big hits, opportunistic base running, and it ends with Freddie Freeman, one of the best humans in the MLB, walking it off, no doubter. He knew it off the bat. Everybody in the stadium knew it off the bat, and it was a great game one.
Great game one. And here's the thing that surprises me about this team right off the bat that kind of like jumps off at me. You know, everything's been about Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Muncy, even Will Smith. Freddie Freeman's kind of been the forgotten guy in this rotation. He's struggled in this playoffs. And all of a sudden, you know, once again, like you say, the stars aligned. And it was a great pitch, great inside pitch. Freddie just turned his hands really quick, caught that pitch on the inside, and took it out the park. It was, oh my goodness, completely very, very exciting. And a huge moment, huge victory for the Dodgers. I think that was something that was much needed for just confidence, really going against this Yankee star-studded lineup. You saw how they kind of jumped out on them early with a Santo home run. I don't want to say Soto because they got two different guys. Giancarlo Santo hit the two-run homer early in the game. Or sorry, Stanton hit the two-run homer early in the game. And you saw that the Dodgers were kind of down. They were on the ropes. They were to battle back, get it tied up. And then Freddie Freeman with the historics right there at the end, something special, a la Kirk Gibson, may I say.
Yeah. No, it was a signature World Series moment live. That's why sports is the best, Marcus. It's the best live reality, live action TV. You never know where it's going to turn. And you mentioned it too. Aaron Boone, he didn't want to face Mookie Betts in the bottom of the 10th. He'd rather go with Freddie Freeman. He knew he was struggling. Nestor Cortez, lefty on lefty, and Freddie Freeman took it personal. You know, any good competitor, especially at his level, you know, they take that stuff personal. It's like, all right, you're gonna skip the guy ahead because you think you can get me out. All right, I got something for you, and that's what Freddie Freeman did. And like you mentioned too, this is a gut punch to the Yankees. You blow two separate leads on the road, Game 1 of the World Series. They showed the stat at some point during the game. I think it was 67% of Game 1 winners go on to win the World Series. And it's not a series so the road team wins, and the Yankees had the perfect opportunity to do it last night. They blow two separate leads, and now they got to kind of pick up the pieces and try and figure out how to at least win a game tonight, because, you know, you're not expected to win a game on the road, but it's definitely a good thing to get that in your back pocket if you are the Yankees right now. They had the perfect chance to do it last night, and they simply just failed. They came up short.
Yeah, it was thrilling Game 1, and like you said, the Yankees tried to make the push. Unfortunately, they just couldn't close it out, and it shows you, you know, as we've seen throughout these playoffs heading into this World Series, that starting pitching is no longer the needed thing to try to make the push. The bullpens have become so vital now, and you needing to win a baseball game. And we saw that coming rearing its ugly head for the Yankees, who you talk to many pundits around feel like they have a strong hitting lineup. But when it comes to bullpen, it is a little suspect. They got good starting rotation, but the bullpen's a little suspect, and it came rearing its ugly head. And the reality is, when you really break this down on paper, the Dodgers have the better team. I know the Yankees have the bigger name, but the Dodgers really have the better team, Blake.
Yeah, and it's really one of the first World Series in a while where it's as close as they come. You know, and I was kind of doing some show prep, and I've done a few podcasts and streams earlier in the week talking about gambling, you know, and Vegas has a good grasp on the betting markets and where the money's at and who's favored to what, because, you know, they got skin in the game too. And the Dodgers are barely favored to win this series. They come in at minus 120 odds. The Yankees are barely underdogs. So, I mean, really pound for pound, I mean, even Vegas sees this series as a super close, tight, competitive matchup. And Game 1, like I said, it's only fitting it goes to extra innings. I mean, it's a low-scoring game. Every pitch matters. Every 90 feet matters. I mean, we saw it in the bottom of the 8th. Ohtani, he almost tied it up with a home run, but it goes off the top of the wall. He slides in the second, and the ball gets away on the Yankees infield. What does Ohtani do? He takes third base. I mean, that's opportunistic base running. I mean, and as a baseball nerd myself, playing the game the right way, taking the extra bag, taking the extra 90 feet. Because if he doesn't do that, Betts hits a fly ball to center field, and maybe he takes third on that, and then maybe gets scores after that. But if he doesn't take the extra base, he doesn't score on the Mookie Betts sac fly. So you're going to have to – this series is so close, it's going to come down for me which team is more opportunistic, which team takes the extra 90 feet, which team takes their walks when they need to. And last night it was the Dodgers. And maybe tonight it's the Yankees. I don't know. Yes,
indeed. You mentioned tonight that's this big matchup, Carlos Rodon against Yamamoto at 7 o'clock on Fox. I definitely will have my eyes on the screen. Big game. The Yankees do not want to go down 2-0 to this Dodgers team. But here's the thing. If they do, I feel like this Yankees lineup is strong enough and resilient enough if they do fall 2-0. To the Dodgers, the series is not over, and I'm already been on the earlier predictions, different shows. I haven't made that prediction on this show, The Truth About Chicago Sports, here on WRMN 1410 AM, Elgin, Illinois, Studio 14. But I'm picking this to go 7 games, and if it doesn't, okay. But I feel like this is a 7-game series.
Yeah, I think it is too. I originally predicted Yankees in 7. I'm going to stick with that prediction just because I still like how they played last night. I mean, like we mentioned, it didn't come down to – I don't really think it came down to the Dodgers necessarily being the better team. I mean, obviously they won, but the Yankees had the lead all the way up to the bottom of the eighth. They pitched well. I mean, Garrett Cole, their ace, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 run, 4 Ks. I mean, when you're pitching against the Los Angeles Dodgers and all the stars they have to offer, you can't ask for much better of a performance to that. And like you mentioned, too, the Yankees have the almost reciprocal level of stars with Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, and Giancarlo Stanton's having the playoffs of his life. I mean, you know, he's kind of on the back end of his career, but he's still going to be a player that hits 500 home runs in his career, and he still has all the accolades to go with it. He's got an MVP under his belt. Anthony Rizzo, I mean, not playing at the level he once was with the Cubs, but still a good defender, still can work a count, still is a good left-handed bat, especially when they go back to Yankee Stadium with the short porch. So, I mean, it's gonna it's as close as they come. So, can the Yankees win tonight? It would make me more worrisome if the Yankees came out tonight and laid an egg and got beat 8-0. They say this in the spin zone community, or however you want to spin it. You know, tonight's not a must-win for the Yankees, but it's not a can't lose. I don't think they can come out here and get their butts whooped, but I think if they can play another close game, and maybe if they end up losing tonight, you can still feel good going back to Yankee Stadium, even if they are down 0-2.
Yes, that is a great breakdown. This is Truth About Chicago Sports here on 1410 WRMN in Elgin, Illinois, Studio 14. Call in line 847-931-1410. Feel free to call in, hit us up. We've also got the chat line. I want to give a shout out to Brendan. I told him I was going to give a shout out to him last night as I was covering the Hampshire game, Hampshire High School football for Fox Valley Sports Night. We have Friday Night Lights football, and it featured Hampshire High School this year. And a longtime listener, big fan, Brandon, checked in, and I told him I was going to give him a shout out. So shout out to you, Brendan. I appreciate your support, brother. Call on in and talk some sports anytime, or chat with us on the chat line through YouTube. We stream once again on YouTube, all smart speakers, and we're also streaming on, guess what, Blake?
What is that?
We are now streaming on the WRMN app. WRMN has their own app, and you can listen to us anywhere all across the country, even if you're in Australia. Just go ahead and go look us up in your app store, and you'll see the WRMN app. Blake, we saw last night a change in fortunes where the Chicago Bulls got a win over a quality team. Something that was a little unexpected considering how they opened the season up. Losing, it kind of seemed like it was going to be the same old story. Zach LaVine getting a bunch of empty calorie points in the first 3 quarters and then laying an egg in the fourth, and the Bulls falling flat. And instead, we saw an absolute explosion from Kobe White as he dropped 35 big ones to help power this team on for the victory. Zach LaVine chipped in 25. Vucevic dropped 22. Gitney had 17. Patrick Williams scored 13 as all 5 starters were in double-digit scoring. And then they got a little boost from Smith off the bench. Bucelis even got a chance to score his first 2 buckets of his young NBA career. As, you know, hey, this Chicago Bulls team might not be so desolate as we thought if they could get this type of production from Kobe White, Zach LaVine, and Vooch on a regular basis.
Yeah, it was a good game. I mean, especially a team like the Bucks. They're going to be one of the best teams in the NBA this year. They're going to finish probably top 2 or 3 teams in the Eastern Conference, and they've had our number over the past 5 years. They still have Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's owned us. I mean, he still played well last night. He had 38 points, or maybe even got to 48.
No, he dropped 38 and 11.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, he still played a heck of a game. I mean, he's just a great ball player. But, yeah, you mentioned it. Kobe White, 35 points. That's what this Bulls team needs to be. You know, Zach LaVine, he's getting paid the max contract, but he hasn't really been the max contract player. You know, he's struggled with injuries. He's a hot and cold, high-variance player, and when you have high-variance players, you become a high-variance team, and we saw it in the first 2 games of the season. The Bulls lose the first game to a team that, I mean, the Pelicans, are they decent? Yeah. Are they great? No. And then they come out and beat the Bucks, so I think it's a very good team. So high variance players on a high variance team. They shot 44.7% from three. Is that sustainable long term? Probably not. But if I know that Bulls team at least has it in their bag to go out and shoot 44, sure. I mean, for a season where they're not going to be NBA Finals contenders, I'll take a night like that any day of the week.
Yes, any day of the week. And like you mentioned, the first game of the season, the Pelicans team, which I don't believe Zion played in that game, if I'm correct.
He did not. Nope.
And yet you still got torched by Brandon Ingram dropping 33 on you. And like I said, you saw in the fourth quarter, Zach LaVine go quiet. Kobe White was non-effective. Patrick Williams didn't even seem like he knew what he was doing out there on the floor. And you had to start wondering, okay, is this going to be the same old story? Bulls, which we were hoping would feature somewhat of a different script than last year. And this they came out this game against the Bucks, and wow, very, very much and very impressive to be able to flip that narrative and against a good team. And like you said, Giannis still had good numbers. Dame still came out and did his thing, but the Bulls were able to be resilient and provide counter punches and come away with the victory on the road, which is never easy to do in any sport. And we saw the new addition, Gitney, also come in and have 17, make himself very effective, shot well from the field, 6 from 10, 2 for 2 from the 3 for 4 for the free throw line. And that's really that's really all they were looking for when the Bulls made the move for Josh Gitney. A lot of people wondered, what did that signal? Was this the end of Zach LaVine? And then we saw as the draft and free agent period kind of progressed, and we saw that Zach was going to stay on this team. Now the question started to be, well, how would they fit? And so far, from what I've seen in the starting lineup, Zach and Josh Gitney have actually fit quite well. The real question was how Kobe fits in, because they're a small lineup when you got 3 guards out there. Vooch, who's really your only center, and Patrick Williams, kind of a tweener at the power forward position.
Yeah, no, they're running a modern NBA offense. It feels like for one of the first times in a while. It felt like at the height of, really the first year when it was Zach, DeMar, and Lonzo Ball. One of the big glaring injuries was, can the Bulls shoot the 3 and can they shoot it at a high level? And DeMar DeRozan, that really isn't ever his game. Zach LaVine, like we mentioned, high variance. And up to that point, Lonzo Ball, before he got injured, he wasn't really known for his 3-ball either, although he shot it very well. And now we're looking 2 or 3 years later, and they have guys like Josh Giddey, who people forget, he was a 6th overall pick in the NBA draft. He's still only 22 years old. And Kobe White, in his own right, he's only 24. So you have these young pieces who can still develop and still turn into high-level ball players, and I think we're getting a taste of that more with Kobe White, because we saw last year he finished 2nd in most improved player, barely lost it to Tyrese Maxey. And then, like I mentioned, Josh Giddey, who comes from Oklahoma City, comes from a younger culture of a team with Chet Holmgren and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But now he has a pretty big role on this Bulls team, and he finished with 9 assists last night, and that's more of his game, is controlling the offense and distributing the basketball. And with Lonzo Ball not playing at full level, he didn't play last night, which I'm cool with. Don't push him. He's going to play a high level, and he did last night, just knocking down some threes and distributing the basketball.
You brought up Lonzo Ball, and that's a great point. I still don't really know how he fits into this yet, because at the way the Bulls roster has been constructed, they kind of had moved on from him at the same time, still respecting his injury and holding a spot for him, kind of fingers crossed sort of deal. So now we see Lonzo, really the only role I can really see him fitting in this team is kind of coming off the bench, which is probably a good thing for his recovery and getting back in the NBA. If Lonzo Ball is able to find his footing and a young Bucelis is able to start to show some real potential, is this Chicago Bulls team a playoff team?
The playoff team might be a little bit of a stretch. We're going to have to see a lot of things go right for the Bulls, I still feel like, to see them develop into a playoff contender. I will say, though, if you're watching it as just a pure fan of basketball, I made a few points here of just things you should be watching, because if we do make the playoffs, do I think we make it out of the first round? No, just because you have to play a team like the Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks, and even the Milwaukee Bucks in that first round probably. And even though last night was fun, again, I don't think it's sustainable enough for them to win a series. But keep watching for guys like Kobe White to keep having those cool 35-point explosions. Can he have a game where he gets to 40, 50? I mean, I think so. Look at Matas Buzelis. Watch his development because he's getting minutes, and for something that Billy Donovan's not really known for is giving those young guys in their rookie season a ton of minutes. And Matas is getting action on the floor. Can he keep developing? And then overall, just pray for health. That's the thing about basketball. You never want to see a guy like even just Lonzo Ball going down with an injury. We don't want to see any of these young guys stunt their growth that we talk about with an injury. But playoffs might be a little bit of a stretch too. I mean, what do you think about it?
I mean, I definitely think the playoffs. I want to say yes because I'm sick of seeing the Bulls lose. But at the same time, I think that playoffs is a bit of a stretch. And I mean, maybe play in at best. They could find that maybe second to last spot. But right now, what would it take? It would take a big rising from Kobe White. And can he take that next step? That's a great point. I'm not sure. But if he does, then yes, because we saw the first game when Kobe White only had 10 points and struggled from the field, they lost. And then we saw when he turned around and played like a young up-and-coming all-star, this team won. The numbers really didn't change from the first game to this next game, except really Kobe White's contributions. Patrick Williams added a little more, but if you look, Vooch pretty much did the same that he did the first game. Same with Zach LaVine, same with Gidney. So, and then Smith came in and dropped 15 in the first game off the bench as well. So the production really needs to come from Kobe White. Can he become that all-star-esque player? And if he can, then yes, the Bulls will make it to the playoffs. They'll probably be in the play-in, and will they make some noise? They'll probably be a first-round exit, but they have enough talent to where they're not bottom feeders. And that we see even with the departure of DeMar DeRozan. We see that there's still plenty of scoring that can come out of this team. I think the real issue is always going to be with this team is defense.
Yeah, definitely. Their perimeter defense is going to be a battle, especially losing Caruso, Lonzo not at full strength. Zach LaVine's never been a solid defender. And the cool thing about it, though, when we talk about the playoffs is that the NBA is superstar dominant. You can have a good player and they can carry rosters. We saw last year Tyrese Halliburton with the Indiana Pacers. They were in the Eastern Conference semifinals, or Eastern Conference Finals, my apologies, and they had a real shot there at the end. I mean, if you make it to the Final Four teams, you're doing something right. And Tyrese Halliburton, can Kobe White match that level of production? We'll see. I mean, he's definitely coming into his own as a scorer. I mean, even last night, too, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 steals. He's playing the game. He's playing the whole game of basketball, and that's what Tyrese Halliburton does, so I mean, why not? We're 2 games in, so I'm not going to say that the season's over for sure, but, it's definitely a storyline to watch nonetheless.
Yes, indeed. This is once again the truth about Chicago sports. When we get back from break, we're going to be joined by Sophia Blackburn. The great Sophia Blackburn will join us so we can sit and talk some Hawks. We're also going to break down some Bears. Later, we're going to be joined by Fred Colantonio and Francisco Avila as well as we break down the Bears and Commanders matchup later on in the show. This is the truth about Chicago sports with your host, Marcus Mack, joined by Blake Cowell here at Studio 14 WRMN 1410. We love you all. We're so glad you could join us. Once again, shout out to my boy Brendan, who definitely is a big time fan. Keep on enjoying us, and make sure to call in. We want all callers to call in and talk some sports. 847-931-1410. The truth about Chicago sports when we get back.
American Legion Post 57 in Elgin, Illinois presents Legion Cruise Nights. Wednesdays, May 8th, June 12th, July 10th, August 14th, and September 11th from 5 to 8 p.m. Come out and enjoy a great evening of cars, food, and music. Motorcycles, cars, trucks, military vehicles are all welcome. 50-50 raffles, door prizes. The event being sponsored by the American Legion Riders Post 57. 820 North Liberty Street in Elgin, Illinois.
A dream that's been cooking for years, Maria's Little Italy in Sycamore is waiting for you to come and enjoy authentic recipes handed down for generations. Stop in and enjoy bruschetta, handmade focaccia bread, pizza, pasta, sandwiches, and more. Dine in, take out, delivery, or catering is all available. Go to mariaslittle.italy.com and see what you've been missing. From their family to yours, welcome to Maria's Little Italy, where food brings families together.
Beef Villa's 3 locations offer much more than their signature Italian beef. Try the Italian sausage, roasted chicken, and more. There's a big variety of delicious side dishes. Beef Villa uses quality ingredients from homemade recipes, and they purchase top-of-the-quality food products from their vendors to bring you the absolute best tasting of foods. Beef Villa's great service and quality are waiting for you, but you won't be waiting long because it's always hot and fresh. Visit beefvilla.com.
We are Lions International, the world's largest service organization. We are volunteers committed to strengthening our communities and supporting those in need, one act of kindness at a time. For more than a century, Lions have been serving a world in need, right here in our community and around the world. Lions International makes the impossible possible. This is your invitation to join us, because the only thing missing from our mission to make a difference is you. Visit lionsclub.org to find a local Lions Club near you. Welcome to the brand new Avid Hotel, Wisconsin Dells Lake Delton, where the essentials are done right every time, all while in the water park capital of the world. Make a splash at Noah's Ark, America's largest water park, or at the Land of Natura, Wisconsin Dells Natural Water Park experience. Family fun at Knucklehead's Trampoline Park, and enjoy train-delivered food at Buffalo Phil's Pizza and Grill. Start your day with our free all-around breakfast featuring rotating hot items and freshly ground premium coffee right here in the lobby. And a 24/7 fitness center. The new Avid Hotel, 1273 Kalahari Drive, Wisconsin Dells. Call us at 608-404-7600 to book your next getaway. 608-404-7600. Once again, that's 608-404-7600.
El Diablo Cantina, located by Spring Hill Mall at 113 Southwestern in Carpentersville, is your fun, hip, and festive family Mexican cantina, serving authentic recipes from all over Mexico that are made fresh daily. There's delicious cocktails using fresh fruits, or your choice of 30 craft beers, which go great with the menu. There's indoor and outdoor dining, open from 4 till 11 and until 4 a.m. on weekends, featuring Latin line dancing. Visit eldiablocantina.com today.
The word is out. Nissans cost less on Route 19, but that's not all. Parts, service, and body shop, they all cost less at McGrath Nissan. Used cars too. The reason why is how hard we try. Right now, get 0% APR financing on select new Nissan models at McGrath Nissan, because
Nissans cost less on Route 19.
Come to Elgin.
See what we mean.
And welcome back to the show. This is The Truth About Chicago Sports with your host, Marcus Mack. And I am in Studio 14. This is WRMN 1410 AM. Let's go. And I am now joined by the great and honorable Sophia Blackburn. Sophia, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Heck yes. Well, we got to give you the big, awesome intro. Obviously you're coming off of a very fun-filled weekend that we weren't invited to, Blake. Family wedding where she had all this fun, Hopefully it was a good time.
Yes. It was a very great time.
Heck yeah. And big ups to you. You know, we don't do a lot of shout outs, but the Lions with a big victory over the Vikings, and looked like you beat them up so bad that they couldn't perform against the Rams on Thursday night. So kudos to your Lions for helping out the Bears.
Yeah, Dan Campbell is just pulling out left and right. I don't know what to tell you.
Man, the guy he's something unique, and I think you guys found the special one there. We're going to transition here. Let's talk some Blackhawks. They dropped last night game against the Predators 3-2 as they had a comeback win over the Hawks. We saw this game feature Bedard, who got a goal. I know I'm going to butcher his name because I can't pronounce it. It starts with a T, but maybe you can help me out with that one, Sophia. But he also scored a goal as well. And the Hawks still, though, came up short. They're 5-1 right now, 7th in the Central Division. How did you see that game last night?
So I was able to watch a little bit of it. I was able to watch Bedard score that goal, which is actually, that goal was pretty nasty, if I can't say myself. It was right under the legs, right through it. But it was a good game. They were looking pretty good. They were in the lead for the most part, and then the Predators caught up.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we're still seeing low-level hockey in this town, but with the hopes. And like you say, you know, we got another sick goal from the young kid, Bedard, still getting his young season started and going for them. I am waiting and hoping, and I don't know if it's at this point. I'm kind of really wondering, is it going to happen this year because of such lack of talent? Will Bedard be able to be a breakout season for him to become one of the best in the game, or is he still just rising up and trying to find his way?
You know, I definitely think, like, he's 19 years old. He just turned 19. I mean, should he be in the AHL? Maybe. But he also has the talent to stay up to where he is right now. So, I mean, it's good. It's a very young team. So it's just, I don't know, because the Predators are last in the standings at the moment, and then it goes, Blackhawks are just one up them, but I don't know. It's looking pretty rough right now.
Yeah, it is. It's just right now, Bedard, you know, maybe like you said, maybe he's a little still on the smaller side. He's on the younger side. He's playing against, you know, much bigger, experienced athletes in the league. And yes, his speed is going to show, his skill is going to show, but as we see right now, he's not even the leader on the team in goals right now. It's actually Teuvo Teravainen. And I said that right.
There you go, Marcus. There you go. Practice makes perfect.
Practice makes perfect, Blake. You see, and that's not an easy name, okay?
Yeah, we'll give you the time. Hey, Sophia, it's Blake. I wanted to jump in real quick and shoot you a question, because personally, I'm a very outside looking in when it comes to hockey. I pay attention. I'm from St. Louis, so I got free tickets to the Blues game. So I went to my first hockey game the other night, and I enjoyed it, even though it was a St. Louis team. However, we talked about in the last segment, we talked about the Bulls and what needs to happen from certain guys to kind of elevate toward the playoffs, you know. And even if we're not thinking playoffs for the Blackhawks this season, outside of Bedard, because that's kind of the player that everyone flocks to when we talk about the Blackhawks, can you give us one or two other guys that fans, or even like me, kind of the average fan, should kind of at least know the name and a building block that can help Bedard get toward the playoffs? Maybe not this season, but into the future.
For me?
Yes. So
yeah, is there
okay.
anyone that outside of Bedard we should kind of be looking at?
I mean, I really only know, like, the big names usually, because that's who I keep my eyes on, because obviously they're rising stars, so everyone's going to watch their every move. I feel like everybody on the team is like the people that you really need to watch. I don't really remember all of their names because there are so many of them, but that's kind of a hard question. That's really a hard question for me.
Yeah,
I apologize.
No, it's a tough one though. It is like who is the, you know? I mean, is it Tavo? Is it Connor Murphy? You know, they've got so many young people. Nick, I mean, like who's next? And maybe they still need to draft that next person.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
maybe.
I mean,
No, you all can go. I was just thinking maybe Tyler Bertuzzi.
Yep, Tyler. Yep, you said it right. Tyler Bertuzzi. Yeah, that might be a chance for him, a young left winger. He's also young in age as well, and like you said, he's you could kind of see maybe how these young bucks can kind of make themselves effective. He's 29, so he's still got some youth on his side, and maybe he could become that effective player to play along Connor Bedard. But like we were saying, I mean, honestly, we still might be away. We still might be that player might still be in the draft when it comes to this Blackhawks team right now. The thing is, I guess, is that right now, because this team we know is not going to win, there's a thirst and a desire to really kind of see that breakout from Bedard. And the fact that we haven't really seen it, it's this early part of the season so far, though it's still very early in the season, and they've only played 8 games. But I haven't seen that Gretzky-esque prediction that was put on him. And do you see it that way, Sophia?
Yeah, I for sure do.
Yeah, it's just it's a struggle right now, and the expectation maybe is a little high. Obviously, this town, we're devoid of stars right now. Let's just be honest, and so we're really leaning on our young talent in this town: Angel Reese, Connor Bedard, Caleb Williams, and even a Kobe White that we just were talking about. And so maybe we are putting a little bit too much on the young stars in this town, but we're so desperate, that you want to hear, when you turn on the TV, Connor Bedard lit it up again. Oh, he was unstoppable out there on the ice once again. And so far, that just hasn't been the narrative this season.
Yeah, that's the one thing I feel kind of bad about, is that, like, everybody is putting a lot of pressure on these young kids, and they're just trying to figure it out. And they know that they have this much pressure on them, in which, honestly, I'm surprised that none of them, you have to have a very strong mindset when you're playing this level of pro sports. But I feel like sometimes maybe the pressure gets to them. I don't know.
Yes. Well, and like you said earlier, that was a great point. 19 probably should be in the amateur league, but because this team was so devoid of talent, because the hype was thrown on him so much, it's like, hey, get out there, kid, and skate and figure it out, even though this team is so bad that you're going to get beat up every night, and it's going to be a struggle for you to even really showcase your talent.
Yeah. It's weird because, I feel bad because we took Kane. The Red Wings took Kane, and that was it was Bedard and it was Kane last season until we got him. But it's like all the pressure has gone on to him.
Yeah, and it seems to just be the weight right now is really massive, because when you look at this team and being in a rebuild mode, but yet you've got this superior talent. What we're seeing with Bedard is kind of the opposite of what happened with Caleb, which probably would have happened with Caleb had he actually been drafted by a real number 1 drafting team. Because let's be honest, the Bears were not. They were a 7-victory team, and you added this first round generational talent, and he's got talent around him, and you see him flourishing, where now we see at the Blackhawks and Connor Bedard being this generational talent, and it's not flourishing, and it just makes you put things in a much bigger perspective. That had Caleb been drafted by a team that's struggling like the Blackhawks, I don't think we'd be seeing the things that we're seeing from him. And so you are correct. I think that a lot has been put on such a young player in a bad team situation.
For sure. I wonder.
That's a good point, Marcus.
No, go Blake.
I was just going to hop in real quick. Sorry, that was a good point, Marcus. I kind of wanted to draw the quick connection of what we saw with Justin Fields for a while. All the athletic talent in the world, but sometimes you can only take that talent so far if you don't have, receivers catching the ball or guys on the ice being opportunistic, getting in position where they need to put shots on goal. And it seems like right now with the Blackhawks, it's kind of the same story. You can only elevate a team so much, but that's why this isn't golf, right? It's a team sport. So.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And once again, the great Sophia Blackburn joining us on the call-in line here at WRMN 1410 and Studio 14. We're talking all Blackhawks. Sophia, we know you got to get up out of here, but thank you so much for joining us once again. Hopefully it's a great weekend for you. You get the chance to sit back and relax after having that busy wedding field weekend last week.
Thank you. You guys have a great time.
Excellent. Thank you once again. Once again, that's Sophia Blackburn, everyone, joining us on the call-in line. All right. And as we sat there and broke that down, I tell you, Blake, that I think that is a great, real correlation of what's going on with the Blackhawks situation is that, you know, if Caleb had been drafted by the Panthers, right? Let's say the Panthers had gave up on Bryce Young and they had the number 1 pick instead of the Bears, and they drafted Caleb. We wouldn't be seeing the things that we're seeing from Caleb. I doubt it. I mean, yeah, you would see flashes. You would probably, you know, see like, yeah, that might, but what you'd mostly see is the kid on his back and running for his life.
Yeah. Especially in the NFL, it's a sport where you need those complementary pieces and you need those supplementary athletes to help build the football team. And that's why we give Ryan Poles the credit that he's due, is because he kind of made the bed for Caleb to come lay in. And you know, the Bears are 4-2, and I know we'll get into it down in later in the show, but a good opportunity to go 5-2 tomorrow. So and even with basketball, like we mentioned in the last segment. Basketball, one player can kind of take over a game, like we saw Michael Jordan back in the day, and we see LeBron James in his prime of his career taking teams to the next level. And can hockey really be that sport where one player can take over? I mean, it's tough, but especially like Sophia said and really hit well on was, guy's only 19. I mean, shoot, the dude can't even have a legal beer yet, so even if they do win a playoff series, it's not like he can celebrate. So let's pump the brakes on, the expectations for him, and let's just see if this team this season can kind of keep building the pieces around him, being those good athletes, and putting some wins on the board.
Yeah, that's just facts that, hockey is that one rare sport where even if you are the most dominant, you still need a team around you because the way the game is played, you have to have multiple lines to be effective in that sport, whereas that's somewhere like basketball. Okay, if we threw Giannis Antetokounmpo with this Bulls team now currently constructed, this team is considered a championship team at that point, so, it really, a generational talent is great to have. You want to have it. It's great for the city. It's great for marketing. But ultimately, is it going to be enough for the Blackhawks to really be effective? No, it's really, really having a great player on a hockey team is, to me, the equivalent of having the cherry on top of a cake. You got to build that cake. You got to have a great cake. And then, you know what? Oh, we got this great player. We got this Wayne Gretzky type player, this Ovechkin type player that's going to be able to come in and get them key goals for us when the team is, got that, just don't have enough to get you over the top, just that little bit of oomph that you need in them critical moments. And I think that's when a generational talent can really come through and shine in the sport of hockey. And right now, the lines are just so depleted for the Blackhawks. Even the line that Bedard plays on, there is not much strength. And I think that we're just going to have to be patient and wait in this situation because, hockey is not the sport where one great player can just turn your team around.
Yeah, and even at the height of the Blackhawks' success with Patrick Kane, I mean, if you were to walk around the United Center, even at that height of play, you wouldn't just see Patrick Kane jerseys walking around. You'd see Jonathan Taves and Marian Hossa and Patrick Sharp and all these other complementary names that contributed well to those Stanley Cup teams. And, right now, if you see a Blackhawks jersey on the street, I mean, you're probably not going to see many other names than Connor Bedard, partially because he doesn't have the help, but other partially, too. I mean, he's still an insane talent. I mean, he was the undisputed number one pick in the draft, and everyone's comparing him to, like you mentioned, the Patrick Kane level draft pick, the Connor McDavid level, the Wayne Gretzky level, and it's going to come with time. And we've been kind of spoiled in a sense where we've seen the Bears go through a rebuild, and we've seen the rebuild. I don't want to call it a success quite yet, but we've seen those complementary pieces get added and contributing to the team. And that's just something that I haven't studied enough on this specific Blackhawks team. Where are those other complementary, where are those other pieces going to help stabilize this team? Like we talked about the Bulls. They have Kobe White, but can Josh Giddey add enough? Can Jalen Smith add enough coming off the bench? Can Matas Buzelas add enough? There's avenues for the team to be successful, and right now it feels like the path for the Blackhawks is still a little muddy to how they can become successful.
Yes, indeed. Great breakdown. We got a caller here on the call-in line. Let's see what we got here. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead. You're here on the Truth About Chicago Sports.
Can I order from the radio show?
That's a different number. I'm sorry. This is the live number. You have to call the office number.
The office? Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. She had the wrong number. It happens to the best of us. It happens to the best of us. Yes, once again, hey, sometimes you're looking for the office number and you end up calling a radio show. We love it all the same. Once again, call us here anytime, 847-931-1410 to talk all Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks, and we broke down MLB World Series as the Yankees were defeated by the Dodgers yesterday, 3-6 in the 10th inning. We look now, Blake, as the Bears are coming off of a bye where they got a chance to get some rest, and they're going to play the Commanders in the flex game, 3:25 on CBS. Lots of questions coming into this game. Will Jaden Daniels play? Brisker's out. Gordon's going to be out. How much will that affect the secondaries? We saw that the Bears were able to cruise to victory without those players in London 2 weeks ago. Will that be the same scenario against a Commanders team that's really stout in the run and seem to be well coached on the offensive side of the football? I'm looking forward to this one. Big time, Blake. And I have to say, I think that this has kind of been a same old narrative for some time, but it's once again a must win for the Bears. It's another week where they must win, especially heading into those looming division games on the horizon.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it, because this is when you're done watching the noon games and you kind of settle in after you've had some food and you're waiting for the 3:00 games, and Tony Romo and Jim Nantz are going to take the screen, and the weather's 35 to 50 degrees, and it's football season, and the Chicago Bears, get the primetime game. They get the game of the week, and you said it yourself. I think tomorrow is a statement game for the Bears, because the Commanders are good, and right now the whole story for the Bears has been they haven't played anyone good. They played the injured Rams. They played the Andy Dalton Panthers. They played the 2-5 Jaguars, or whatever their record is now. But now they have a chance to go on the road against the 5-1 Commanders or the 5-2 Commanders and take them down. And whether Jaden Daniels plays or not, yeah, that's still up in the air to be seen. But we saw last week Marcus Mariota played good, and I don't think the Commanders are as good with Marcus Mariota. But I don't care who you are. I don't care what you say. Tomorrow, if the Bears win, it'll be huge. I think they will. But it's a big litmus test for Matt Eberflus and the Bears.
Yes, it really is. And, I even put a little thing out there. Shout out to you for making those clips for me that I threw out on TikTok. Please go and find Marcus Mack on TikTok as Marcus MCC12. Come and check out some of the clips that Brother Blake made for me. And I put out one of the clips, last ones I put out last night, was comparing Eberflus to Belichick, which we talked about last week, about how Belichick's record is against rookie quarterbacks. And make no mistake about it, I feel like this is the total statement game for Matt Eberflus to come out here, especially if Daniels does play a hot up-and-coming rookie quarterback, and you are starting to seem like you might just be a defensive guru. This is a great litmus test for that. We still have the questions about Eberflus. He hasn't sold us. This will go a long way in selling off the fan base on is Matt Eberflus the guy to lead us to the promised land? And make no mistake about it, even if Daniels doesn't play, I still feel like it's a big litmus test because Marcus Mariota is an invested veteran, and he's got nothing to lose. He knows that he's probably going to be playing only a couple games, maybe if just this game. He's going to lay it all on the line. He's not going to hold anything back, and he's going to try to come out and do everything he can to get that victory for the Commanders. We know that the Bears have struggled against the run. We saw that against multiple teams this year, the Rams, the Colts, and even in one big bust-out run for the Jaguars. So, no, this is not a give-me game. It's definitely a game that, a lot of questions need to be answered. Is Eberflus the real deal at coach? Can this team hang against a team with a winning record? We know that the Bears caught most of the teams with on the downside or injuries in the lineup, and the only one team that they play with a winning record, they lost. So this is a great litmus test right in the middle of the season. How ready are the Bears? How much have they progressed? Also, another point of Eberflus's coaching. How is your team prepared after the bye? The last two seasons he's come out of the bye, he played. He lost a very tough game in his first year, and then the next year he came back and he beat the Detroit Lions last year after the bye. So Eberflus has shown the ability to have his team up and ready, and this is just going to go another long way on the road. You're going to have a big, angry crowd against you, and you're going up against a formidable foe. Huge things that we will learn from this team, how real the Bears are, how ready they are so far. And this will give us a good idea of where Caleb has progressed.
Yeah, and I love how you just hit on kind of the defense in an overarching umbrella statement, because this Washington offense could come at you so many different ways. I know we'll kind of get into it later in the next hour, but, they're one of the top scoring offenses in the NFL. They're tied for first with Baltimore. They can rush for 165 yards a game on average. That's good for third. And they still have a bona fide number one wide receiver in Terry McLaurin. So they can kind of attack you all different ways. So Eberflus got his hands full.
Yes, he does. This is the truth about Chicago sports, here with Marcus Mack and Blake Cowell on 1410 WRM. And continue joining us as we break down Bears. Let's go.
If your idea of therapy involves a fishing rod, a tree stand, or a campfire, then you need American Outdoors Radio. Host John Cruz speaks your language, whether it's about the best lures, tracking game, or that one buddy who always forgets to bring the beer. John's got the tips to sharpen your aim, the hacks to pack lighter, and the stories to keep you entertained. Again, that's American Outdoor Radio with John Cruz. Saturdays at 7 a.m. on WRMN 1410. Or stream it at WRMN1410.com. Get ready to outfish, outhunt, and outcamp them all on American Outdoor Radio. with John Cruz.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410. Elgin time, 11 o'clock.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Microsoft has new computers that put AI first, this special category called Copilot Plus PCs. They have minimum specs plus a chip just for AI. The company unveiling the first Surface devices with the designation, powered by Qualcomm chips, not Intel. One notable AI feature is called Recall. It lets your computer remember everything you do so that you can find files, images, and websites later. More tech news tips on Rich on Tech.
Every Saturday from 1 to 4, right here on WRMN.
And welcome back to the show. This is The Truth About Chicago Sports with your host, Marcus Mack, here at WRMN 1410 AM, Elgin, Illinois. Let's go. And Blake, when we left off, we were talking about the Chicago Bears and their matchup coming up here with the Commanders. Big time game. We've got big time action happening. Hopefully we're going to see number 1 versus number 2. But I love how the team has approached it. Caleb had one of the best statements of the week saying, hey, I'm here to win games on Thursday, Monday, and Sunday. That was perfect. That doesn't matter. I'm not looking for, even though, you know, deep down, come on, that's just tongue in cheek for the cameras. I believe that these players do want to face off with each other. They do have something to prove out there. That's why you play the game. You're a competitor, but I do understand their sentiment in terms of it doesn't matter who's out there. We got to go get the victory.
Yeah, business as usual for Caleb Williams. He's not going to buy into these storylines. You know, he's well media trained. He's smart with what he says to the camera, but he lets the play talk, and that's exactly what the Bears need on Sunday. I will say Caleb Williams, even though he's kept it clean on his end, there's some other Bears players that aren't doing the same thing, and I'll keep it clean for the airwaves. But Jalen Johnson said it. They asked him which quarterback he'd rather face, and he says, honestly, I don't care who is out there. I'm looking forward to whooping their, quote, butt either way. And they asked Montez Sweat, too. They asked him about, coming back home to Washington. How's it feel playing your former team? And he goes, I'm just happy to be somewhere that I'm wanted. So, Caleb Williams keeps it clean. He doesn't want to do anything on his end to make him look bad. But these other Bears see this as a big game, too, and they're not going to be scared to go out there, play hard, talk a little smack, and show why they're one of the best teams in the NFC. So even though on Caleb's end he's keeping it clean, I think the Bears are hungry, and they'll be out ready to fight on Sunday.
Yes, indeed, especially after having a week off. And, they hear the noise. These players hear the noise that they haven't really faced competition. The last 3 games have been against bottom-feeding teams in the NFL. And so you best believe they're looking to grind that blade and sharpen that iron and show everybody that they're ready for the big boys of the NFL. And I believe, me personally, I think that this Bears team is more than ready and more than capable. You've seen a young quarterback that is starting to gain confidence. You're starting to see an offensive line that is starting to find their footing, and they're starting to find their identity. Getting the connection set up with Swift on the ground, and then having Caleb then kind of come out there and make big splash plays when needed, and then just moving the ball. Smart check down football. And if this trend continues, not only do I see the Bears beating the Commanders, but as well as the Cardinals and the Panthers, setting them up for a huge matchup against the Packers. Now, I'm not going to get all ahead of ourselves because it's 1 week at a time.
Week at a time, Mark.
One week at a time, But you see this game really being a great litmus test for the Bears to kind of see where we stack up against the big boys, and a real chance for this defense to kind of show who they really are. I think that this defense is going to suffocate the Commanders, and I'll be really surprised if I'm wrong, as we've seen this team continually stifle offenses throughout the season to where you can barely put up past 20 points on them. And I don't see the narrative changing with the Commanders.
Yeah, we talk about the stats every week. We talk about how good the Bears are when they only let up under 20. I mean, the most points they've given up so far this year is 21. That was to Anthony Richardson and the Colts back in week 3. And again, this is another huge test going on the road, facing a team who's the top scoring offense in the NFL. But like you mentioned, too, how can the Bears offense start in this game will be a big indicator of how Sunday can go, because we talked about it last week. DeAndre Swift, when he goes over 110 all-purpose yards, the Bears have won the last 3 games. And then that's when you see Caleb play off the run, get outside the pocket, flow of the offense, plays to one side of the field, finds Cole Kmet for a check down, will find, one of his 3 wide receivers running free downfield. So it's going to be interesting. Can the Bears offense get rolling? And we talked about how much the Bears defense has struggled against the run, and at this point it's kind of getting overstated because the Bears give up 112 rushing yards per game, which I'll admit sounds like a lot, but that's 11th best in the NFL. So they're actually in the top half of defending the run. And if you look at the Washington Commanders, they give up 131 rushing yards per game, which is 18th in the NFL. So the Commanders' rush defense is actually a little bit worse than the Bears. So can the offensive line keep their rhythm rolling, create some holes for DeAndre Swift to get his yards, get the offense rolling, and then see if Caleb can play off that like he's done the last 3 weeks. And like we said earlier, 3 straight weeks, 3 straight wins. So let's go for 4. Why not?
Yes, 3 straight weeks, 3 straight wins. Let's go for 4. And that's really been my concern with this Chicago Bears offense going back to week 1 is the slow starts. It's been that way now for 6 straight games where the offense has come out, stumbled out of the gate, 4 and out, and then finally find their footing. I would love for the Bears to come out in this game right away, hit them in the mouth, let's get on the board early, and let's start making the Commanders have to play catch up, as opposed to us having to play catch up like we've been doing for the first 6 games of the season. Now, what makes that happen? Well, let's make sure, Mr. Shane Waldron, that these 15 scripted plays make sense, because for the start of the season, we found out that you didn't even have 15 plays scripted. Then we find out that you do have 15 games scripted after the Colts game, and we still see the offenses come out of the gate stumbling and struggling. So I think it's very important, especially being on the road, try to get this crowd out of it. They need to come out and let's hit them. Let's hit them fast. Let's get the run established, because that's clearly been the staple of the Bears offense. But don't be afraid to look for Rome. Don't be afraid to look for Cole or DJ down the field.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about that when we were previewing the Jacksonville game. Was the Jacksonville Jaguars coming in had a decent 2-headed running attack of Travis Etienne and Tank Bixby, and then we come into this game where it's kind of a similar type of run style with Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler. They come in running the ball. Like we said, this offense can attack you a lot of different ways, and the Washington offense does that on the ground. 165 rush yards per game, 3rd in the NFL. So to avoid that, the Bears kind of have to get off to a good start, because similar to the Jacksonville game, if you get ahead in the game, then they can't run the ball as much because they got to be chunk play down the field to get back into it. So if the Bears can hop out to a 10-point lead, and hopefully in the first half, but maybe if it's early in the second or late in the third, well, then we don't have to worry about them grinding the clock down, grinding it down with the run, picking up first downs, going on those 6-8-minute drives that can really, really shift the time of possession and lower their chances to win.
Yes, the Bears defense has got to have rest. We know the Commanders are really going to be committed to the run, whether it's Mariota or Daniels at quarterback. Both quarterbacks like to run the ball as well. Mariota maybe a little long in the tooth and doesn't have the wheels that he once did, but he's still a mobile quarterback, and he'll still be looking to dissect the Bears on the ground with his legs. Robinson obviously has been a very key running back to start this season out. He's been able to make big plays on the ground for the Commanders, and it's been a big part of their offense. And then we forget one other person, and that's the wide receiver, McLaurin. He has been very huge for the Commanders, and I think that that's really where their offense falls, is those three players, Jaden Daniels, Robinson, and McLaurin. And so I think that if the Bears can really take him out the game and then force Robinson into tough running situations where hopefully you don't have to stack the box that much, but you can really stifle him just with your front seven, now we can see a turn of the tide to where we are forcing Mariota to drop back way more than he wants to. That allows Sweat, Dexter, Taylor, and the rest of the boys to get after him. And we should be able to see a team that is able to really put a lot of pressure on the Commanders, forcing turnovers, giving the Bears offense a short field. And that's the perfect scenario for a rookie. Now, will it play out that way? Right? These are all words that we're saying. Obviously this game could start and we could look up and the Bears could be down 17-0 on the road. But the idea is that if you can really come in there after coming off the bye week and implement your will, which I believe that the Bears can do. I see the Bears as the better team, even though both teams have 2 losses. I think that the Bears will come away with this victory on the road.
Yeah, I agree with you, too. I think on paper the Bears are the better team, but, they come into this game hot, 3-game win streak. They're favored by 2.5 points, and I think a lot of gamesmanship going on, too, right now by the Commanders. Jaden Daniels is still listed as questionable. They're keeping his game status kind of under the car hood. They're not showing all their cards. They're not letting them know kind of who to prepare for who. So coming into this game, I guess we'll kind of know Sunday if Jaden Daniels is playing. If I had to guess right now, I would personally say he's not going to, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. And even if he does, I still think the Bears have the better defense. I think even with Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon being out, we saw against the Jaguars, I mentioned it last time, the philosophy carries. It doesn't matter who's in there. And Elijah Hicks and Josh Blackwell have both played really good in their time filling in for these injured guys. And the philosophy of, rallying to the football, being in position, being opportunistic, that's something that we're just going to have to keep seeing right now as the Bears kind of weave their way in and out of this healthy secondary, because the secondary is the strength of the Bears. And right now with 2 of their starters out, it's kind of diminishing. Now we get Tyreek Stevenson back. We still have Jalen Johnson, and we still have Kevin Byard as well. But, again, can those guys do enough to just keep the Commanders' offense down? Because either way, the Bears' offense has to go out and score 20-plus points. I would even say 25. But, as long as the defense can do what they do and hold them under 20, again, not a math guy, but you can win a lot of games.
Yes, indeed. You can win a lot of games. This is the truth about Chicago sports. Here with Marcus Mack, joined by Blake Cowell in WRMN 1410, Studio 14, as we're breaking down Chicago Bears versus the Commanders. And I want to switch gears just a little bit because we've got the trade deadline is looming in a couple weeks. Chef Poles has been out there already, as we saw the release of Velus Jones and Kareem Blasingame, I believe this is pronounced, the fullback for the Bears. So we know with those moves happening, the Bears aren't done. I really didn't like the Velus Jones move, him being released with us not getting nothing in return, especially when we saw on Hard Knocks that there was interest and the Bears begrudgingly held on to him until his value bottomed out with that big, huge, massive fumble in Game 1. He would not return to the field again, would be inactive for the rest of the season, and now he's been released. So we know that that's a signal that more than likely the Bears will be looking to add some type of personnel to the roster, with 2 players being removed from the active 53-man spot. Are Are the Bears set, though, roster-wise? Do you think that they need or have to make a move before this trade deadline ends?
It'll be interesting to see. I think right now Ryan Poles has always kept things close to his chest. He's always kept things kind of under wraps. He's leaked information when he seemed necessary. And with the trade deadline hot right now, I mean, we saw obviously Devontae Adams goes to a new team. Amari Cooper on the Bills, he scored a touchdown last weekend. And DeAndre Hopkins goes to the Chiefs in his own right. So teams are making moves. Teams are stacking their rosters up. And I don't think the Bears are done. Ryan Poles has showed the past few trade deadlines he's not scared to make a move. He went and got Montez Sweat last year. The year before, he got Chase Claypool. He's traded away Roquan Smith at the deadline before. You know, he's not afraid to make a move to help benefit the roster, not only in the immediate terms, but also in the future. Now, what does that look like? You know, they still could use some offensive line help. I still think they could use some defensive line help. And we talked about it last week. Myles Garrett, is he out there? There were rumors that he's been shot. Max Crosby on the Las Vegas Raiders, is he out there? You know, potentially. So there's going to be names out there. I don't know if the Bears go as rich as one of those top-level guys, but I think there's opportunity for Ryan Poles to sneak a fifth-rounder for, you know, some low-level offensive line guy that maybe just doesn't have a roster fit somewhere else but could have a role on the Bears because, you know, he's done work with undrafted free agents. He's done work with late-round draft picks. He's able to scout that late-round talent, but it just depends on what he wants to do this trade deadline. So I don't think the Bears are done. I still think he knows he needs to make a few moves to solidify this roster, especially with how good the NFC North has been. I just don't know exactly what that looks like quite yet, but what are your thoughts on it?
Well, there's a couple different ways that this can go, but I feel like at the same time there's going to be a lot of trepidation because a perfect example, there have been calls for Khalil Herbert. There has been interest in Khalil Herbert, but you trade Khalil Herbert and now you lose Swift for some extended time or you lose Roschon for some extended time. And you literally just traded the cupboard away. And let's not forget, Velus Jones was originally featured to be a running back, and you just released him as well. So I make this move to get somebody for my team for next year, you still have to focus on this season. And right now you are in a very good position this season to weaken yourself for a draft pick of the future. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense in scenarios like that. Flip it around on the other side of it. The Bears go for a Myles Garrett. Now you are talking about giving up future assets. We know that they're going to need offensive line help in this draft next year. We know that this offensive line is not set, and there's a lot of good linemen in the draft. If you get Myles Garrett, it's going to cost. And how much of your resources do you want to allocate? Now, financially, it's not going to cost the Bears. It's not the same like the Khalil Mack trade. Myles Garrett is already under contract. His signing bonus money would be allocated to the Cleveland Browns. So, therefore, it wouldn't be a massive cap hit on the Bears to add Myles Garrett to the roster. But to give up those draft picks, key assets picks for next year, I feel like if that's the case, then the Bears have to definitively know that they, in their heart, believe that they have a chance to go for it all this year and into next year.
Yeah, they always say, and by they I just mean all the sports pundits, you know, and now we're in that loop too, but with roster building in the NFL, you got to strike when the iron's hot. And that happens when you have these rookies on these rookie contracts where you don't have to pay. You know, we just saw Jordan Love. He's making $53.5 million now per year. So that handicaps your cap space in terms of team building. And the Bears are going to have really 4.5 solid seasons to kind of make that happen. So I think Ryan Poles knows that. He obviously saw it with Patrick Mahomes over in Kansas City before he came to the Bears. You know, the Kansas City Chiefs have won three of the last 5 Super Bowls, 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls, or whatever it is. And they did a lot of that when they had Patrick Mahomes on a Chiefs contract. And I'm not saying Caleb Williams is at the Pat Mahomes level yet, but I think it'd also be dumb to say that he hasn't showed that level of potential so far, just with his ability to read defenses and look off defenders and use his feet and high-level IQ quarterback play. And if Ryan Poles says, hey, this is the guy, this is the level of quarterback play I know I can get for another 2 or 3 seasons at least, well, then I don't see a reason why he would shy away from going for one of those big guys like Myles Garrett or Max Crosby, just to say, hey, if we're going to win the Super Bowl, if we're going to get to the NFC Championship game, maybe not this year but the year after, we still need better players. We have to keep getting better because in most sports, most sports and most rosters, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And if you're not getting better, the teams around you are getting better. So it'll be interesting. And like I said, I would hate to plant my flag on either side quite yet. I think he's going to make a move. I don't think it's going to be for one of those high talented guys, but I'm not going to complain if they do,
Yeah, and there's been an issue of, people worried about should they try to block Detroit or somebody else from trying to get a high-level productive defensive player like a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby. The thing that I feel like is that if the Bears are to make this move, then that means they're signaling that they believe their window is now. And they have put all their trust in Caleb, and they feel like they can make the push with a rookie to second-year quarterback because, let's be honest, if you don't make it this year, you're still going to have that next year window if you do make that trade for a top defensive guy on the other opposite of Montez Sweat. The offensive line, I find it just no team's really going to be willing to part with the key offensive lineman, and that's why I kind of don't really. If it can happen, I'd be very surprised. I'd be more under the vein of seeing. I'd be more under the impression of that once Ryan Bates comes back healthy, once they know that Bloom is completely back, that Nate Davis will be shopped and traded for some type of asset piece, which is why he hasn't been released yet, where we saw Velus Jones being sent out of town, but yet Nate Davis is still on the roster because I believe that they're still holding out that they're going to get something for him and get him off the team. So I'm betting more on Nate Davis being moved as opposed to the Bears actually bringing in an offensive lineman. I'm leaning more towards the side of that if Poles is going to do something, which we know he's a will and a dealer, it's going to be a defensive end. And if that happens, then the Bears are definitely saying that we believe that we can win it all. That could be very well in the line in this Commanders game that we're watching. Depending on how this goes, how the outcome plays out, we could very well see Poles making a move if he feels like, well, we really dominated this Commanders team. We got a real shot. I need to put this team in position right now, right here. But let's say they struggle. Let Commanders give a beatdown on the road. Maybe I need to hold on to these draft picks because I'm still team building.
Yeah, like we mentioned, good litmus test game, and you really did good job breaking that down and bringing that point up because fair criticism of the Bears so far. They haven't beat an above 500 team yet. And, and again, too, you can only play who's in front of you, so it's not a shot at the Chicago Bears because obviously we're fans and you'd rather beat the team that's under 500 than lose to the team that's under 500. So I also don't see a huge argument for that as well. But if you come out against the 5-2 Commanders and lay an egg and lay a stinker, well, that's going to definitely put some thoughts in Ryan Poles' head and even Matt Eberflus's head, maybe we're not where we thought we were. Maybe we need to take a breath, take a step back. But again, too, what if the Bears come out and beat down on the Commanders and put up 40 points and win 40-20, Then Ryan Poles could turn around and say, hey, I can give up a first-round pick next year because here's the fact of the matter. I don't think a first-rounder next year is where the Bears will be picking if we think they're as good as they are, and let's say the Bears make the playoffs. So they're picking in the 20th pick range, the 20 and up range. So let's say they're picking in that range. None of those players at that point are going to be better than Myles Garrett or Max Crosby in the next 2 seasons. Now, can you obviously get a draft sleeper and they develop into that? Absolutely. I'm not going to say that that's not the case. But if Brian Poles sees that this Bears team is as good as we're right now led to believe, then go make the big trade and don't look back.
Yes, that is an excellent assessment, Blake. Once again, this is the truth about Chicago sports here on WRMN 1410. We welcome all callers on 847-931-1410. Hit us up as we go to break.
This is Darian D. Silk Sims, the general manager of American Silk Radio. Are you looking for a place to broadcast your podcast? What about being on the airwaves? Well, this is the perfect place for you. We have incredible audio engineers that will do the heavy lifting that will help you to bring your dream to a reality. If you're ready to take a crack at being a podcast radio superstar, send us an email to americansilkradio@gmail.com. That's americansilkradio@gmail.com. Let us help make you a star, where it's always all silk all the time.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I lack a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
For many years, Italian Pizza Kitchen in Roselle has been serving quality and excellence. Italian Pizza Kitchen is family-owned with experience in preparing authentic Italian cuisine with the freshest, highest quality ingredients since the 50s. Your food is always prepared fresh with the same traditions, recipes, and standards that they've perfected over the years. Italian Pizza Kitchen has a passion for great cuisine and customer service. Visit ItalianPizzaKitchen.com.
Beef Villa is a family-owned restaurant that has been in business for over 50 years. With homemade recipes made with quality ingredients, Beef Villa's great service and quality is served hot and fast. For the menu, catering locations, or for an application to join the Beef Villa team, visit beefvilla.com. Saturdays mean cruise nights, weather permitting, on Spring Street in South Elgin. Visit beefvilla.com.
Political party poopers got you down? Shake it off and join me, Dennis Sonar Green, every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m. on WRMN for A Political Talk Show, where we cut through the doom and gloom with a focus on America first, constitutional values, and a populist perspective that puts you, the citizen, at the center of the conversation. At WRMN, the talk of the town, we're not afraid to challenge the status quo and bring you the straight talk you need. Whether you're frustrated with the political establishment or looking for a clear, some nonsense analysis, this show has you covered. Tune in. Let's take on the issues together with a fresh, unfiltered approach. Catch us every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m. on WRMN, A Political Talk Show. WRMN, the talk of the town.
A dream that's been cooking for years, Maria's Little Italy in Sycamore is waiting for you to come and enjoy authentic recipes handed down for generations. Stop in and enjoy bruschetta, handmade focaccia bread, pizza, pasta, sandwiches, and more. Dine in, take out, delivery, or catering is all available. Go to mariaslittleitaly.com and see what you've been missing. From their family to yours, welcome to Maria's Little Italy, where food brings families together.
Imagine planting, tending, and raising your crops all season long, only to discover a micronutrient deficiency is robbing your yield potential. Once you spot signs of nutrient deficiencies, it can be difficult to bounce back. Get ahead of manganese, boron, and copper deficiencies with Moxin from CHS. Designed with a patented Levosol chelate, Moxin increases nutrient availability and provides your crops with the nutrition they need. Ask your local CHS retailer about the power of Moxin.
And welcome back to the show. This is the truth about Chicago sports here on WRMN 1410 AM Studio 14, Elgin, Illinois. Let's go. And we left off, Blake. We're breaking down Bears and Commanders. We are now joined by the call-in line, but our local sports reporter that talks all Bears with us, Francisco Avila here. Join us on the call-in line. LR Cigars, premium cigars. If you want a premium cigar, go to lrcigars.com or LR Cigars Gmail or LR Cigars Facebook. Francisco, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's great to be back with you guys, Mac, and it's great to talk with you as well, Blake, and it's great to be back on the Truth About Sports, so I'm excited to talk about the Bears again.
Heck yes. We're going to break down the keys to a Bears victory. Me and Blake kind of hit on some earlier of what we kind of feel might be some keys. I said the Bears need to start fast. We know that the run for the Commanders is going to be tough. Tell me right now, give me one big key that you think is going to be huge for the Bears to win this game.
I think one key takeaway is the balance between the offense and the defense, both really producing at the same level. We spoke earlier in the show the last couple of weeks, in the week one, about the Titans, where we really relied on the defense. The offense wasn't really picking up its weight. And then and we were plotting how good the offense was, but they weren't picking up their weight. And after the Colts and Texans games, we saw that change in momentum where the offense was really picking up their weight. Caleb was getting better. And I made the assumption that we should have taken out Caleb and put Tyson Bagent. But in the end, Caleb proved me wrong. It was a logical decision to keep Caleb, and he was producing. And in this last game that we saw against the Jaguars, he was doing really great. Kenan Allen had a really good performance. DeAndre Swift had really good performances. So I think that's one of the key things that we need to have in this Commanders game, where not only does the defense perform really well, but also the offense and that connection that Caleb has with the offense.
And Francisco, honestly, you were not off on that statement, because the statement wasn't about the play of Caleb. The statement was about the play of the offensive line, and was Caleb safe being out there with that offensive line? And was it worth putting our generational quarterback in harm's way, or should we wait until they had figured it out before we put him out there on the field? So you weren't proved wrong by a Caleb per se, but maybe by the offensive line actually showing that they could protect this young kid and not put him in harm's way anymore. Because after that Colts game, I was like, whoa, is this kid going to make it to see Green Bay in the first game? So, we've seen a big, huge turnaround with the offensive line and Caleb's play as well, him being a lot more comfortable, which you pointed out, and balance being that key, one of the biggest keys in just a turnaround in this season in general, where the offense is matching the defensive production. But I'm going to throw one out there for you, Francisco. What role will special teams play?
I think they'll play a big role in the players that we'll have on the field. But I also feel like another key, if I can, is the attitude. I know you guys spoke about it, and Blake also spoke about the different things that players are saying. He was saying how Jalen Johnson was talking about that he doesn't care what quarterback he plays against. He just wants to whoop their butt. And how Montez said that he's just happy to be in a team that values him. And Caleb just said what we all want to hear from a legendary quarterback, once-in-a-lifetime quarterback who wants to win games Thursday, Monday, and Sunday. So that's also a key. I think if I can add another key is attitude, because after those first two losses against the Colts and the Texans, we thought we were going to see the same kind of Bears who lost 2 games, and it's the same old Bears again. But they had that change in attitude, that change in momentum, and that's something we want to see the Bears have this season.
Great point.
Blake, go ahead. I know you want to jump in there and ask a question.
Yeah, no, great point, Francisco. We talk about in sports and across the board, we talk about a lot, especially now at the World Series, never too high, never too low. If you can remain kind of right in the middle, that's when consistency and the growth of these teams really happen. And I love how you pointed out, the Titans, you're riding high off week 1. You won a game that you probably shouldn't have, but you got the win. And then week 2 comes prime time, and here we go again. Same old Bears, no offensive line. Caleb's pushed around. And then the Colts game, they're getting pushed around. But like you mentioned, they kept a nice even keel, and then they rattle off 3 in a row. And now we enter into one of these big games where it feels again, and again, like we mentioned before too, Caleb Williams right in the middle, even keel, not getting too ahead of himself, not putting the horse before the carriage, and these other guys are kind of doing the hyping up for him. So I love how you touched on the balance of the team. Offense has to complement the defense. And I guess the question I have for you, and on the offensive side of the ball, we saw DJ Moore have a huge game against the Commanders last year. Pretty sure he had 230 yards with 3 touchdowns. Do you kind of expect the same game from DJ Moore, or do you think it's going to kind of be more of the same what we've seen for this Bears offense, where you can kind of flip a coin and whether it lands on Cole Kmet or Keenan Allen, well, it'll just be their day? Or do you kind of think DJ Moore, he's got the Commanders' number and he's ready to have another huge game?
Yeah, I think the resurgence that I saw from Caleb has also impacted other offensive players like DJ Moore. He had a really good game last year, and I expect him to do the same. But also, as you touched on the flip of a coin, I think any player on the field, when Caleb's on his A game, can pass it to an offensive player, and he also takes the game by himself, like we saw Cole also did, and we can also see DeAndre Swift can also do. But if I can touch on Keenan Allen for a little bit, I know you guys were talking about, if I can switch gears really quick, where I know you guys were talking about the trade deadline coming up. I saw there's speculation where Keenan Allen could also possibly be traded to the Eagles. I don't know if you guys have heard about that.
Yes, actually, that is something, and I'm glad you brought up the Keenan Allen aspect. The thing about it is that Roma Doomsday is there. And if you go back and look at the plays, Rome is open a lot, but there's other players that are open that are getting fed. The real question comes down to how long do we plan on holding on to Keenan Allen? Was he just to get Caleb comfortable for this season? And if that's the case, if you could get some value out of him and send him to a team a la the Eagles or somebody else, is Roma Doomsday ready to step up and be that number 2 role? And I feel like the answer is yes. I also feel like this could be a game where we see Roma Doomsday really break out. He had a breakout game against the Colts, but that was kind of in a catch up situation. We saw DJ Moore get fed the week against the Rams, and then against Jacksonville, we saw Keenan get fed. Don't be surprised if this is the week that Roma Doomsday gets fed. And if that's the case, yeah, Keenan could definitely be dangled out there because you've got some bona fide weapons, and you don't really have to have Keenan Allen.
Yeah, speaking to who we could possibly get, it's Tyler Steen, who was drafted in 2023, and he's also a player who has versatility, and also he's a multi-positional player. He can play both guard and tackle. And Keenan Allen, to your point, we have players who can play besides Keenan Allen, and he's only a wide receiver. So do you guys think that because Steen is multi-positional, he can play more positions, he might be more valuable than Keenan Allen?
Blake?
I'll kind of hop in here real quick. I'll respectfully disagree with that. Kind of to the point that, Marcus, you were making earlier, if we dangle these guys, like you mentioned, Khalil Herbert, if we dangle Keenan Allen and say, all right, we'll trade Keenan Allen for an offensive lineman, just for hypothetical, and then Roma Doomsday runs a route and tweaks his hammy, well, Valus Jones is gone, so now we're rolling out DJ Moore, maybe Tyler Scott, maybe I'm blanking on the name now, the guy who was filling in quite a bit at the start of the season, number 11. I'm blanking on the name.
Oh, Carter.
Yeah, DeAndre Carter. Carter's the last name. I'm blanking now. But either way, this is, at the end of the day, right now, this Bears season, do we want to make the playoffs? Yes, absolutely. But Caleb's development is 1,000 times more important to me, and I would say a lot of Bears fans, too, than making the playoffs. I think we got to keep just coddling him the best we can and not letting him have to play hero ball, because like we saw at USC, when you have to rely on someone to play hero ball for 50 passes a game, that's when bad mistakes happen and bad habits happen. So I'm personally not on the trade Keenan Allen train. I don't think the Bears are really considering that. Maybe they are. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But I think keeping Keenan Allen around is more crucial to the long-term longevity of the Bears than just letting him go to, say, get an offensive lineman that, maybe he's not at the same talent level as Keenan Allen is right now to play wide receiver for us.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. Health has been something the Bears have relatively been very lucky with so far this season, but the depth is not so deep that you could just easily part ways with Keenan Allen unless you're just given an offer that's too good to turn down. I feel like with where you're sitting at right now, you've got the perfect pieces in place. No need to upset the apple cart. And that even goes with the same with the running back position, which is why Khalil Herbert, I feel like, will stay right on this roster. And the same goes with Keenan Allen with the release of Velus Jones. I just think that now those two positions have become a lot more vital in terms of keeping the personnel that you have on it. But that doesn't mean the teams haven't called. Of course they have. Of course they called and inquired. And I just think that Ryan Poles has done the smart thing of just staying pat, keeping to his guns, and realizing I need to keep these assets in my cupboard because I have been very healthy. I have been very lucky to be healthy so far, as we even saw the left tackle for the Minnesota Vikings go down on Thursday with a season-ending injury. So I think at this point, the only way you make a move if you're the Bears is if you add. But to reduce from your roster to try to gain some assets in the future or down the line, I don't think that you need to do that to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, to your point, I agree with that, Mac, and also Marcus, and I also agree with you, Blake, that it's good to potentially add players who are potentially good to your roster, to your squad, but it also could hurt you in the long run in terms of injuries. And it's good to have that depth with players like Keenan Allen. So someone gets injured, he can fill that position, fill that role. And also, he's in really good form. He had a really good performance against the Jaguars, so I also expect him to have a really good performance against the Commanders.
Who is a sneaky guy? With the Bears, if you really look at it, in every win this season, there's been a guy that's kind of poked his head that nobody would, from Javon, from Dexter Sr. to the Billings, the Juggernaut, to Swift, kind of, raising his level of play after the first 3 games. We see, these guys, Elijah Hicks, come up and step up big in London against the Jaguars. I mean, even to the point of the punter, Torrey Taylor, where he had that big game, even though a lot of people are going to downplay that game against the Rams was huge with him pinning their offense multiple times down towards the goal line. So I'm going to come out on a limb. I'm going to say my sneaky pick for this week to have a really big game, I'm expecting Darnell Wright. I think Darnell Wright is going to dominate. He's going to be big out there. A lot of times I know it's not the sexy pick for the offensive lineman, but that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a big game from Darnell right after getting a chance to rest, get a week off. He's been banged up to start the season. So that's my sneaky pick for the Bears going into this game against the Commanders.
Yeah,
that's a good pick.
Following up to you on that, if I can, also my sneaky pick, if I can give one, is Cole Kmet. I think he wasn't really on my mind. What was really on my mind was players like DeAndre Phillips, Rome Odunze, Caleb Williams, the big names who are thrown at you who can really make a big difference. But as we saw in the game against the Jaguars, he really made a big difference. He had 2 really good touchdowns, 2 really good passes from Caleb, and then he just ran and was able to get those really good touchdowns. So I really think he can also make a difference, and is my pick.
Excellent pick. Blake, what do you got?
Yeah, no, those are both great picks. I love that you gave some respect to Darnell Wright there. He's one of those guys, too, they invested a lot of capital in, and starting off the year a little banged up, and, hopefully he can kind of get right and take those next steps along with those other guys that we've been talking about, like Dexter Sr. and Tyreek Stevenson, all the same draft class. So they're kind of all in the same trajectory in terms of development. But if I had to give a sneaky pick in this game, I'm going to give it to a guy who was off against the Jaguars, or rather he was hurt. I'm picking Tyreek Stevenson, mainly because Jalen Johnson, he's going to get, again, Tyreek Stevenson's the most important player on this defense, because when Tyreek Stevenson, he's going to have moments where he looks bad, and he's going to have moments where he gets exposed, so to say. But he's only getting those moments because Jalen Johnson is locking down the other side, and hopefully he can lock down Terry McLaurin, because that's going to help the Bears defense enough. So I'm looking for Jaden Daniels or Marcus Mariota. I don't care who's the quarterback. They're going to make a mistake on Sunday, and Tyreek Stevenson's going to be there to turn the ball over for the Bears.
Yes, I like that. That's a great pick right there, Tyreek Stevenson. Once again, this is the Truth About Chicago Sports here on WRMN 1410. We're joined by Francisco Avila, our local sports reporter, calling in, talking Bears. Francisco, tell everybody where they can find you when you're not here on the show.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Francisco Avila _20. You can find me on Twitter, Francisco Avila. And, yeah, it's great to be here on the Truth About Sports. And, yeah, hopefully we see another Bears win, continuing that streak against the Commanders tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. Thanks for joining us, Sparky. We always love having you on. We look forward to having you next week. Go Bears.
All right, thank you.
And that was Francisco Avila joining us on the call-in line. He's our local sports reporter for the Chicago Bears, giving us all the little insight on Chicago Bears sports here in this town. I really liked that those points that he made, especially with Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet is the weird X factor in this offense, Blake, if you really think about it. I mean, we bring up DJ first for obvious reasons. He's one of the most top talented players on the offensive side of the football. And then obviously Rome, because he was the nice, beautiful, cute pick that we got. He's the new flashy weapon. And then you got the grizzled veteran Keenan Allen, who's shown what he can do over many years in the NFL. But the guy that just keeps coming out there and making these quiet, big plays for the Bears throughout the season so far has been Cole Kmet.
Yeah, he's a huge X factor on this offense. And like you mentioned, he gets lost in the fold because there's all these other cool names we get to mention. But we kind of gave him some credit last week and naming off some stats and where he ranks against tight ends. And he just silently keeps playing his game. He doesn't need the media attention. He's not going to cry on the post game if he doesn't get the ball. He's the ultimate team player, and he's a team captain for a reason on this team. I mean, he's an assassin over the middle of the field. He knows how to read these zone defenses. He's not scared to pick his spots. He doesn't get enough credit as a pass catcher. I can't state that enough. The dude has made some already incredible catches in his career. So, I mean, and he's also good in the screen game. He's good on bootlegs. He's not a yak monster like DJ Moore and some of these other guys. But really on this Bears offense, you don't need him to be a Travis Kelce-level yak player. You just need him to catch the football, play his game, block when he's asked to, which he's fine with doing it all. He's truly the Swiss Army knife on this Bears offense, and I agree with you, too. I think Francisco, I love the Cole Kmet respect, and, hopefully he just keeps having a good season that he has so far because he's an X factor and a team captain for a reason. So Let's see if Cole Kmet can have a big game, too.
Has totally rose into a big-time leader on this team, and his players is backing it up as well. We see in Vegas right now, the spread, the Commanders are a +3, which I'm actually kind of shocked at with the fact of not knowing the Jaden Daniels status, which kind of makes me lead to believe that maybe Daniels is playing. But we saw, even going back to that Jacksonville game, that these numbers can be sometimes deceptive, especially when betting Bears. So I'm really hoping that that scenario isn't played out once again. But be careful out there because the line is +3 right now to Washington. We got a call on the line. Hold on one second, caller. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead. You're on the Truth About Chicago Sports.
Yeah. Hi, Marcus. This is Cleveland Dennis. I have a question about the World Series game. If you didn't cover it earlier.
Go ahead. We talked the World Series earlier. Yes, we did. Feel free. What do you got for us?
I missed that. I apologize. But when Ohtani fouled out to the left field stands, was it second and third? Did the Dodgers have runners at second and third?
When Ohtani fouled out, what inning was that?
That was it in the latter inning. I think it was in the 10th or in the 9th or the 10th in the extra innings. But here's my question. The left fielder, Verdue, for the Yankees, he fell into the stands. He caught the ball, but couldn't the runner have tagged up and scored?
So I can kind of step in here and add a little context. So, to answer your question, so runners were on first and second. Verdugo does fall into the stands as he's catching the baseball, and I guess I'll add this too while we're on the topic. One of the better World Series catches we've seen in recent memory.
Yes, it was.
Full speed, goes into the stands. Now, the ball goes out of play in that moment. The play is deemed dead because the ball is out of play. Runners did advance to second and third, and then that's when they walked Mookie Betts, and then Freddie Freeman hit a home run. So the runners are not able to tag technically because the ball is dead since it's out of play.
Excellent assessment there.
That's the answer?
Yep, that's the answer, buddy.
Well, I didn't hear it because the volume from your other person there kind of faded on me, but I'll be able to pick it up after I hang up. But thank you very kindly. I just want to double-check that.
Definitely. Thank you for calling in, brother. You know we always love when you join us, and call in next week again.
Thank you.
All right, that was an excellent breakdown there, Blake. He said he kind of missed it, but I'll tell you what, you broke that down perfectly for him. So hopefully he goes back and listens to that explanation because that gave him some great clarity into that play and what happened and what eventually led to the setup for the Freddie Freeman walk-off grand slam. As we get ready to wrap up the show today, Blake, what do we got on the docket for yourself, my friend? College football, some Bears tomorrow. What's going on?
Yeah, so, college football today, World Series tonight, all eyes are kind of on the screens as it's just another enjoyable weekend of fall football. And, obviously we got the big Bears game, but we got some baseball to wrap up first, but we got Bulls basketball tonight. So pick up an extra TV at Walmart and stream as much as you can.
Yes.
It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have both TVs going. I'm going to have World Series on one TV, going to have some college sports on the other TV, and then it's going to be the same deal tomorrow. I'm going to have both TVs going, Bears going, other football games going. It's just an exciting time for sports right now. Great time of the year, great time for sports weekend. We want to thank everyone that joined the show, as this is once again another Fox Valley Sports Saturday. We had On the Rise from 8 to 10, and then followed by The Truth About Chicago Sports 10 to 12. I want to thank everyone involved. Maddie Ice McNeil. Want to shout out Dean Delaney. Also, thank you to Dennis Sonar Green. Blake Cowell joining us once again and serving up excellent perspectives and thought process. Blake, tell them people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me at Blake Cowell X on X, Blake Cowell X on all platforms, as well as my podcast streaming on Spotify, Lakeshore Radio. Check me out on those two main places. A lot of cool stuff coming up with the Bears, as well as the winter meetings coming up. Going to be covering a lot of outlook on the Cubs, but that's where you can find me.
Yes, indeed. And give me a final score. What do you got? How do you see it going? Bears and Commanders.
Bears and Commanders tomorrow. It's going to be a close game, but I think the Bears are good enough to sneak it out. Give me 27-23. The Bears.
I'm going
5-2.
I'm going out on a limb. I don't believe that Daniels is playing. I think it's smoke and mirrors. I believe the Bears are going to win 38-21. That's right, Max, going on another bold prediction again. So let's see. Last time I did, I was halfway right. So let's hope that, hey, if nothing else, we get the win. I will always take that. But if I could be corrected by 38-21 prediction, you know how I'm going to come up in this bad boy next week. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, once again, this has been a great episode, a great show. Thank you all.